Oh, that is much faster. Hello, people of Earth. Give me a moment to prepare. I have invited you all here today, and for those who are just stopping by, because I feel, I suppose, particularly clear and lucid in my vision of my work recently and where it's going, and I wanted to share outward into the world what I'm really seeing in my mind's eye and go a little bit deeper than I normally would. I think for a long time I've avoided talking about the Cognicist Manifesto for a number of reasons, and I think the vast majority of people who might know me online as Speaker John Ash are completely unaware that it all started from this document called the Cognicist Manifesto. So what I want to do today is just sort of go back through the manifesto a little bit, what we were thinking when we wrote it, and our perceptions about how things would change, and sort of like where we are now, and really try to open up and hopefully start a little bit of a dialogue and have people reflect back some questions if they're uncertain. But I also want to explore, some of these ideas through song, because for me, music is a really important way to communicate the emotional impact of a message, especially something that is sort of abstract like cognitism. So I'd like to start with a song that I've been doing recently, which has started as a cover of This Land is My Land, but very quickly it just didn't feel right because the message just didn't really ring true. And a whole other song started coming out of me. So the first part of this song is the original, and after that, it's sort of my own version. And I'd like to just go through a few songs and talk to you about what I'm trying to communicate with them, and just sort of hear your voices back about what you're hearing, and sort of work deep into sort of the history of why I've been doing this sort of stage name and this persona, and what I'm trying to say, why I'm called Speaker John Ash, what is the message that I'm trying to communicate. So I'd love to start with this song. I'll get into it. I hope you're all well tonight. I hope you're joyous and positive and well fed and well slept and feeling healthy. Let's go. As I was walking a ribbon of highway. Just give me a second. I gotta start all of my little buttons to record everything. Start recording. As I was, gotta remember every step. As I was, every step. This is what an engineer is for, so that I can just focus on the performance. But we'll work out the kinks. This is only my third or fourth time doing this type of show, so I hope you can bear with me. Oh, there is something that I have forgotten. There's so many steps. That should be a little bit different. The volume is that's a little bit of the challenge of doing these things, is I can't see any of you. Boop. I'm half asleep, but I'm here. I appreciate you all for being here. I'm just taking a moment to look at these. All right, now that everything's going, we can get into it. Walking. As I was walking a ribbon of highway, I saw above me an endless skyway. I saw below me a golden valley. The land was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream water, the land was made for you and me. I've roamed and I've rambled, and I've followed my footsteps, the sparkling sands of the diamond deserts. And all around me a voice was sounding. This land was made for you and me. Seems to me the only thing holding man to his land is how much he's growing. Area of island, the answer's fellow man. What's a man to do when he doesn't have enough? What's a man to do when his neighbor has too much? We say that this is our land. I don't see it in the facts. It's something that is borrowed. We have to give it back, 'cause we know the earth is dying as we barrel on ahead. So we say that this is our land. Now all the land is dead. This land's not my land. This land's not our land. It's for the people who live within. How could a being own where they're being? Other beings will need a place to be. Ooh. Fox, yes, Fox Scarlett, the producer of Strange Hymns, the guy who taught me pretty much everything I know about how to actually make music for real. So that song, there's like a 50% chance when I sing it that I'll break into tears. That song is one of those songs that really I didn't write, you know. There's songs that I consciously try to write the lyrics out, and there's songs that just the things just come out. I don't consciously do it. I find myself recording it and it just being there in whole. And that was really sort of that experience where it's like I was just trying to play the cover, even though I hadn't heard the song in so long I couldn't remember most of the melodies. And just really digging into the meat of the emotional heart of that song, because I wanted to make it a little ironic and sad and dark to reflect, you know, what I saw as the realities of America and what ownership really was. And I was talking with my best friend, you know, one of my oldest friends, Anya, about the song and sort of how it's like connections with colonialism and, you know, just sort of getting more and more nuanced. And I would just find as we would have these conversations that just randomly I would, and I can't explain the part that feels unconscious of picking up my phone and pressing record and doing it, but it just happens. I would just find myself writing these parts just coming out of me fully. And just the refinement of those concepts and really trying to reframe the land as not being something that we own, but the land is owning itself and we renting the land from it, because we are really temporary stewards. We're only here as passengers. And, you know, one of the things that I learned in this program that I recently participated in, the Design Science Studio, which is going to be for the Design Science Decade, which it's a very fascinating program, but was just the idea of personhood being given to land or animals or just, you know, just land in general was the key thing. To give, you know, sort of the legal rights of a person to a place, because it's like the law is so fixed and rigid, it's kind of like they have to manipulate it to work within it. And it is a very challenging notion that it's like where people just simply need somewhere to be. Like we're having this immigrant like problem, I guess problem reality at the border right now, where, and in general, you know, it's where it's like people who are in physical localities that are just awful, just they're suffering continuously because of corruption. It's like really the reality of transforming where they're from into somewhere livable and lovable is almost an insurmountable task. But passing a border and getting past, you know, the law or just the word of a land to be able to thrive with your children is just such an easier path. And we've had over the last 4 years, like, this really weird, strange divide and obsession over this, because the United States is handling it really poorly, and I mean, within the confines of the traditional, like, the solution is really just more funding to deal with the problem, and not more funding and threatening, like, for ICE, but I mean more funding for compassionate care of people. But anyways, it's just, I think when I look at any problem, I view it as very, very complex. There's many sides, many perspectives, and none is particularly absolutely right. And with that song, I really wanted to just be very nuanced about the abstract of ownership, because I think the song is original song is kind of hokey in its idealism, and I really wanted to turn it on its head and just be like, well, that's nice and all, but the reality is very, very different. Yeah. And I like starting with that song because it just puts me in a good place. Okay. I would like to play another song for you, and then I would like to go into a little bit about cognitism. This time you wanna change their mind, but you feel okay. You're gonna raise up your voice so high. Are you gonna raise up and lift your voice so high? Are you gonna break down and never even try? 'Cause you gotta know we ain't got a lot of time. This life, these times, you wanna change their minds, but you feel it's too late. No talk now. Minds are side to side to hate. Voices crash and stay the same, but you feel quiet now. Hold your tongue and things will change. Close your ear and walk away, and we'll feel no fear, but it will not help us heal. Are you gonna say I don't like the other side? Are you gonna think you're the only one who's right? Is it really worth losing it to keep your pride? No time for spite. We gotta make this right, 'cause I feel we could change, balance out. Some will say we've lost our way. Speak your voice and things can change, but you feel quiet now. Face your truth upon the stage. Use your word and we can say what we need to be. Your voice will set you free. Are you gonna say I don't think I wanna change? Gonna play out the world with your pain. These are coming, you just keep on running. I think you got something to say. Hey, 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 yeah. You gotta pray. Oh, you can't control more than the things you know. So I love to watch you say that you're gonna make a change, but I got a feeling in my brain. We got some room to grow if we wanna see the earth survive. So I'll say it one more time, but I wanna hear you speaking up. Lord, I just can't get enough, and I wanna hear of us as one. So we breathe the rising sun. Oh, the rising sun, that lyric's in caps, and it doesn't make as much sense as all the other lyrics. I wonder why that is. I wonder what that could possibly mean. Maybe there's a song on the first album called The Rising Sun, and maybe there's a deep thematic connection drawn through all the music to form a grand communicative statement or something like that. I don't know. Maybe. Let's check it out. So you see this picture, the possible futures now, time, probable, preferable, which I love this feature because I feel like it's so perfectly communicable, and it's so weird that it's just a frickin' random picture of a graffiti, and it's not even, the original picture is not framed that well, but it says so much better than I've been able to say in so many words, which is that. And, you know, I think other things are helping people think about this idea of probable futures and how we could sort of steer our timeline together through collective action. Especially through, like, modern storytelling is really exposing more and more to, like, multiverse sort of timelines and stuff like that. So it's like this idea that actions can be taken together to shape our collective future is something that's sort of emerging in the collective mind space, and it's sort of growing. But we don't necessarily know, I think, how to best approach that. How do we best steer towards these probable, preferable futures and away from probable? Because you look at that image, and I would say that for a lot of people here, the probable or the preferable future is, mitigating climate change and making a more equitable future. And, but the probable feels a little bit dark right now. And the question is, what collective action can we take to steer these outcomes? And if not necessarily perfectly, but at least like floating down a river of time, like you can use an oar or something to gradually shift your way through it, and you could see far ahead, and you could see a rock, and you can move to avoid it. And I think that's sort of the system that we're lacking. So I'd like to go back to 2016, 2015, 2014 and talk about the Cognicist Manifesto, what it is, why we wrote it, what was trying to be said. And I think that starts with just reading part of the preamble to you. Just checking on the volume. Okay, see, that's not peaking too much. You're all beautiful people, and I love you so much. I had to go down on the last line because otherwise the melody would be copyrighted. All right. Window capture. Here, it's not gonna be perfect, but that's okay. It's not gonna be perfect, but it doesn't need to be. Okay. Okay, I'm just gonna read sort of the intro and sort of try to talk you through what we were thinking about. It says, I would like you to rewind to 2016. Let me lay the landscape. Donald Trump had just won the election. People were very confused about this very unlikely future. They were scared. A lot of people thought it was a sort of miracle that this future had been manifested. People were in complete disbelief, and a lot of people felt like they understood the world well enough to project out into the future that based off of who this man was, we were going to have some very dark times ahead of us. And in that collective, mind space, and in the space of post-truth emerging, this idea of alternative facts, and just like the very first news cycle of hearing people say like alternative facts, and just people being absolutely incredulous about it. But to me, at the time, it made a lot of sense because I was working in fraud and misinformation, and I was a machine learning engineer working on text and understanding meaning and language. And so I understood a lot of the ambiguity of written language online. And I understood the way that networks, the way that networks are sort of bubbling themselves, that like-minded voices were self-clustering to each other. And I sort of felt very confident that the future was not going in a good direction, that it was not going to be something that was simply changed, and that we had to take, dramatic action. And I had a sort of very clear vision about what this action was, what the problem was. And so I'm just going to check in on, Invincible. All of your songs are like, see other songs. Yeah, kind of. Okay. When in the course of recorded history, an uncertain future threatens the well-being of the people, it becomes necessary to resolve the beliefs that have confined us, to speak the roots of our rising crises, and to plant the seeds of a new world together. In respect of our fellow minds, we must define collective goals and provide for our collective well-being. We must not rely on the entrenched workings of leadership and power, but must determine our futures collectively. Now, this is obviously lifted from, or the heart of the language is the Declaration of Independence. In my heart, I sort of viewed this this as a sort of declaration for the internet as independently structured than, nation states, because I felt it was important for people to frame that, but also because I think that powerful words have weight in people's mind for a reason, and I think it can be very tempting to really just throw out entire old systems, like as a coder, programmer, a lot of coders' initial inclination when they get into a new project is to delete all of the old guys' code and rewrite it from scratch. And I think that the point is we're constantly learning and integrating and aggregating what we know about how we best organize. And the last major update to our collective operating system was kind of this experiment called democracy. And then, further sub things like science and such. And at this time, I simply felt that we needed to plant the seeds of a new society on top of the old ones. That there was too much of a focus of sort of this using violence against the state or trying to deconstruct the state without any concern of what was to follow, or just the idea of smashing and replacing. And I felt like if the foundation is crumbling, if the rock is crumbling, and I want you to sort of understand this metaphor. If it's weak already, then just by planting the new seeds, as the roots go through that system, it slowly breaks apart, and it provides the nutrients and the support for something new and beautiful to grow on top of it. You don't need to smash and remove everything, but we do need to reframe how we're thinking about things, because I think most people have an understanding about these probable futures and would like to avoid them. And the question is, how do we better collaborate to achieve that? When I say a thing like the uncertain future, it is because we don't know what will happen with a lot of these things. We don't know what will happen with climate change. And we have these rising prices. We're seeing more and more problems happen. And this was 4 years ago. And so it's like a lot of people don't know how to take action together. And I think it's really important for us to be willing to reinvent and re-explore the ideas that bind us together as a people. And what it really means for us to be bound as a people. What does it mean for us to be like, we are one people because we live in the same place and because there's a nation state, versus we are one people because we have a, forum on 4chan. I mean, there are lots of ways to collectively unite, and what is the healthiest and most progressive way to do that? And I love this question, and I think it's something that we can definitely do a lot better. With the technology. Weird. Language is technology, and that just failed right there. The technology that already exists. So the heart of this was that we need a goal. I think that climate change is a little bit... I think that climate change is a little bit abstract because the climates change. They're in motion. Living systems are dynamic. They're always inherently going to change, and to stop a living system is to kill it. And so what does it mean for us to shepherd the health of our ecology as we live within it is a really challenging question. And a lot of people put great amounts of heart and belief into the idea of markets because they sort of collectively optimize our behavior and quantify what we value in real time. You know, with democracy, you have a vote maybe a year, but with capitalism, you vote every day. And I think a lot of people truly believe that if you earn more money, that means your voice should have more impact on society. And this comes back to my strong belief of not throwing out the baby with the bathwater, that expression. And that the idea that although I think capitalism is leading us a very dark route, that it constructed a thing, that what it constructed is this human infrastructure. And the idea of having a signal, a collective signal, money, profit, motivate these organizations to form, apparently is very powerfully emergent. I mean, that what works through it and why it's so successful is these corporations can emerge and form through this system of reward. And what I'm saying is, well, what if there was a similar way to reward social good, such that institutions of social good that were independent from a nation state, independent from the threat of violence, could actively work to provide social needs without it being all centralized and controlled by one institution? That question, I think, is really important. So when I say define our collective goals, what I'm really looking forward to getting to is, how do we re-quantify, like money, how do we reward behavior and what we view as good behavior? And because right now, I mean, I think there is a real reality to the statement, everybody has their price. It's not absolutely true, but it's partially true. That there are a lot of things that you would not do, but your morals may change if somebody drops $1 million down for you right in front of your face. And because money contextualizes things, because it's value and it's attached to the future. When you think of money, you think of all the things that you can do with your future. And so when somebody dangles a large sum of money, basically buying your output, they're using this token to manipulate your behavior that you would have done otherwise. But you do this, not you, but like the collective you, one would do this because one understands that with that money, one can transform their future or the future of their friends and family, and that reshapes their awareness. And I think for a lot of people who are pure capitalists, this is a really good thing. And I think that's a very dark thing, actually. And that thing exists regardless of necessarily having money, because, you know, you can bribe people to do horrible things with, you know, pelts or, you know, shiny stone, whatever it is. But we're living in a networked time where we can have abstract digital assets that behave in a very different way than things in the real world. So I want us to take advantage of that. Let me just take a look at the speculative design image. What I was listening during all the meetings. I learned a little bit of things. I would love just to hear where all of your thoughts are right now on what I'm saying, and just sort of hear sort of a reflection in the chat about what you're hearing and how it's hitting you, because I understand it's a very big idea and there's a lot to it, and I only read one paragraph and it's 100 pages and there's already so much to say. So if you have thoughts, I would love to hear them, and I'll take a few moments just to pause to give you an opportunity to do some reflections or questions in the chat. Oh, I can't change that. That's fine. It's weird there's going to be a long gap because I know there's a delay between it. So I will just fill this with a doodly doos. that's a good point, Turl. And if you look at the top of the manifesto, it does say version 0.01. I very much intended it to be something that's like, this is in its infancy. And one of the things I wanted to talk to people about in this chat was the idea of what a version 2 looks like. And the idea of bringing in more voices to shape this without... I do want what I'm trying to communicate to say the same, but there's so many ways to say it. Furthermore, when I wrote this, I immediately sought out assistance from friends, and I really... How do I do this? I tried to seek out a lot of different voices. I knew somebody who believed in anarchy and sort of not the pop culture definition, but they believed in the idea of that their anarchy with still some social structure. I'm going to do an interview with them soon to go deeper on that idea. I had somebody who was I'd say very libertarian, very free market, really believed strongly in the market. I had somebody who was very, very passionate about sort of this democratic socialism and sort of the idea of the state providing, all of these resources for people. And I had somebody who was very... I don't think they would qualify themselves as very right-wing. And in many ways, it's like the mere fact that they seek out communication with me, it suggests an open mind. But, it's somebody that I've since had a falling out, which is a very interesting thing, trying to bring voices together. And this person, we wrote this section, and I'd love to bring it up for you. I think this is actually a really interesting thing to go through. So this is a section that I wrote in conjunction with this person, because what I was trying to do with this is talk about how we establish collective perceptions of truth, and talk about things like democracy and science and news and how they worked in the context of a networked age, an internet age, and how it would change. And obviously, or maybe not obviously to some, the point I wanted to make is you can never fully arrive at the truth. You can't have somebody be an arbiter of truth, but you can have an approximation of it, and you can move towards it as you refine and observe, as long as you're willing to modify and expend the energy to sort of reflect backwards when you find inconsistencies in your thought. And so there is this desire to not be like, we are the arbiter of truth, but rather this is a way that people bring their voices together to say, this is the truest representation of all of our voices together as one. And we wrote this, we said, truth is largely dependent on context. There are varied definitions of it. Truth is very easiest to define when it can be independently verified, as with empirical claims, but scientific truths represent a fraction of the total available truths. And like all pursued science is affected by the context of the individuals doing science. Truth is also contained in the uniqueness of every human life and life experiences. All truths have value in the mind of the believer. The truth exists. There is signal in the noise. It often exists in a cloud of uncertainty. It tends to coalesce into singular truths. Truth itself might not be sound in the present median of the bell curve of collective minds. So we in this moment, our voices were able to come together to talk about how we had these very different perceptions of truth. But we ended those 4 years with what I viewed as a violent insurrection. And people can have their disregard for the state or whatever, but I just think that the implication, I suppose, and the reasons for the motivation were, I think, very dark and very removed from an understanding of how that system of government was meant to function and why it's kind of functioned for a very long time, and would have just been a very massive and terrible step backwards, just an incredible, awful step backwards in terms of what that potential future would have been. Now, I think that this friend felt like it was something that the media was manufacturing, that there was a narrative coming to it. And I felt very, honestly, I'm not really reading the news. I'm just on Twitter seeing videos, and I'm making my own reaction to that. And it looks dark, and it looks not good. It looks like people hate each other more than ever. We're not listening more than ever. And, you know, when I say these things about not listening more than ever, it's really what I was trying to communicate in this manifesto, is that we were going to pull further and further and further apart. And that was a bad thing. That, you know, I mean, sometimes countries split apart, but when the geographies aren't tied to it, really, when it's like online, where it's like we're just separating from our minds, and then in every town we're getting more and more divided, so that everywhere there's no new physical lines to draw, it will become catastrophic. People have been flirting with saying the word civil war for, you know, the last 4 years. And it took people a bit to get over the idea of saying the word insurrection or saying the word coup. And for some people, it really was hard. It affected them so personally that they felt that I was delusional for saying these things. I like to really have a good perception of everything and have varied perspectives on it. And so it was very sort of disappointing that to have that fall out. But it's another reason why I've doubled down on this vision, and I think the importance of it, because it's a validation that we were being pulled apart by the systemic effects, and it was something that was pushing our behavior outside of our individual intuitions at any one particular moment in time. Now, yes, Turrell says, I learned that most humans don't have all the biological resources they need to think deeply about what they want, even less of what they need to figure out how they get what they want. Absolutely. The challenge is, how do we solve that problem in a way that actually works and helps those individuals be, you know, self-sustainable? And there's so many solutions and voices out there, and I want to take every voice, every idea, and bring it together in one place and test them all in a way that feels true and valid and natural and connected to a community, in a way that takes advantage of all this new technology like blockchain and you know, cryptocurrencies, or, you know, there's even a new term called the non-transferable, non-fungible token, which gets even closer to what I'm suggesting with sort of reward system for social good. Is it something that you don't spend? It's more of something that lends a weight to your voice within the collective system. And it adds weight to your voice because your voice and your actions help individuals secure a more just a more secure future for themselves, a more self-sufficient future. Yeah. Just going through. The idea at the time was to go through sort of the past of truth, how our voices come together and what it means for voices to come together, how we pass on information, because humans been reinventing this shit forever. Like, think about the earliest ways that we transmitted information. It was this long oral tradition. People were just telling these long stories. And there was a lot of, you know, that would change in it. And then we invented the written language, and we started it, but we didn't have the printing press. So the way that we sort of communicated from generation, our vision of what was true, was like singular documents, and that ended up in being things like the Bible. That you could really only have one book because they're very expensive to make, so it had to have everything. And so it even had a history of the people of the time. He begat he, begat he, begat he. And that the idea that language helped to transform our perceptions of truth, religion, and how because we have this problem with uncertainty, the not knowing the future. It's really fundamental to humans, to the point where we actually do very detrimental things, like the introduction of agriculture is something that actually reduced the quality of our diets and the quality of life, but it reduced uncertainty because foraging is uncertain. And so that was a more important driving factor than the actual negative health effects of like consuming primarily grain throughout the year. Democracy as this thing that we currently do, but as also this past thing. It's just everybody gets a vote, and that works because it makes sure that everybody's voice is kind of heard, even though there's problems with it. Scientific method, we all know there's bias. We all know that we don't all know, but there's a reproducibility problem in a lot of fields and papers because we're not really doing the amount of clear peer review that we need to do. Talking about, markets, talking about capitalism. This was a very difficult section to write because I could not get all of these different voices to agree what the word capitalism meant. Ain't that the root of it all? That we just don't have the same definitions. So I had the market-friendly guy and the really right guy, and it just so many voices that just like they could not agree on what it meant, what capitalism meant. And so I made up a word called fiatism, which is this idea that we have this printed paper token that represents value, and we use it to exchange value. Just focusing more on the concept of the token and less the concept of the ownership and how a market would work like that, because you can quantify markets in a lot of ways. Like pelts become kind of like money, shells become kind of like money. Anything that becomes standardized unit of exchange because it's easier to exchange because everybody knows they want that thing. It's just more useful. But anyways, just going into the idea that people, you vote with your dollar in real time and the power of that, and people believe that those who earn more should have more of a say because they truly believe that the profit incentive is rewarding the right people. Polling. I think we had a big problem with polling in 2016 and this year too, and just talking about why it was flawed. Trust and sociopathy. Just how we put all of our trust into individuals and just trust their word instead of or institutions. And the judicial system, where it's like, of course people who are innocent end up in jail for 30 years and they have no justice afterwards. Maybe very minimal payment to start their life up again, but a scar on their whole life. So none of these perfectly get to the truth, but we are always trying to get better at understanding what the truth was. And I was also in 2016 seeing different ideas about how we could fix all these problems, ranked choice voting, and fixing gerrymandering. That there were a lot of ideas about sort of tweaks, updates, just a little add-on to make what was broken working again. Talking about the idea that people were going to want to say that Facebook should be the arbiter of truth, or whoever should be the arbiter of truth, and our entire society cannot decide what it really means for somebody to be an arbiter of truth, even though a social media site has to make decisions about what they display to each user, because they cannot display 100% of content to each user. It is physically impossible in the amount of attention that they have. So it's like every system is being an arbiter of truth, but it's completely, we have no collective agreement about how it should happen. It's just something that's done in private by corporations that are motivated by profit. Now getting into some of the ideas at the time that were, more in line with this idea: how do we reinvent aggregating our voices? How do we reinvent aggregating our truths? And there was this experiment on okay, you can still see, just making sure, you gotta check these things. And there was this experiment on Reddit where each user could update one pixel on a giant canvas at a time, and people worked together and formed communities to be able to paint this out, to form their collective vision of what they wanted to paint to this canvas. And this image is evolving in real time, and I thought it was I've always been looking for very visual ways to explain the idea of how we would aggregate our voices and how we would score and quantify collective good, because I think it sounds very nice. I think it sounds very ideal, but the how is really the important part. And I think it's hard for people to understand because a lot of this stuff is very new. But when you see something like this, you understand a little clearer the idea of how individual actions can form. There's this thing that was called Uno. I don't know if they still exist, but it's basically this widget where everybody is dragging at a central thing, and it calculates and averages the pulling so that it moves with the pulling. And what happens is people tend to refine their answer once they see how it's being moved, to decide to move more in that direction, to move more against that direction. There's this strange collective feedback loop in real time that actually results in more accurate answers, which is very a unique and interesting way for integrating these voices. Okay. And then we get to the future. And the future was basically what I was saying in 2016 was a technology-based solution, and really something that was basically just working within what already existed with some modifications to better aggregate our voices towards collective, social change. And I really did play for a long time with very simple scoring systems. There is a site called Metaculus. There are things called Briar scores where people just share how likely they think the future is going to happen, and it's a tallied score calculated by very basic math. And I always felt like, I'm looking for a system that is not cheatable, that is fair to all, that really will work for the next 1,000 years. Try not to think for 10 years, 5, but 1,000. And so I saw that the system needed to evolve and change over time and learn and aggregate all of that knowledge into a structured way that was queryable and accessible to all. And that for me became this idea of using machine learning, having people talk to these models, having them encode it into collective representations of knowledge, storing that to a blockchain so that we all have access to it for free, the collective knowledge that we're sharing and what we've learned over time. And also having those models know from which voices, from which people or accounts those truths were coming from, and learning to identify which voices over time tended to be most associated with outcomes. Because as you move forward through time, people share what actually happens, and you can connect what was logged in the past to actual outcomes and see, did we avoid that unwanted future? Did we avoid the probable future, and did we work towards a positive future? And it's something that is very easily quantifiable with the technology that we already have, and it could really transform, I think, the way that we work together. And, well, you see in this another visual representation. This is a unsupervised model that basically, instead of feeding it people's opinions, you fed it pictures of handwritten digits, and it creates a space where if you take a random point in that space and feed it to a decoder, it will feed you a type of number. So if you take a point in the top left corner of this space, and that space is this is just a visualization. So in the model, in this space are a bunch of different types of zeros. So if you take a point in that space, feed it to the model, it's going to give you a 0. If you move a little bit around that space, feed it the same numbers to the decoder, it's going to be a little bit different of a 0. Same thing with the sevens on the far bottom right. And I am saying, okay, well, that's very interesting. Can you have different beliefs encoded into this space, such that everybody's view and the edges between them are very easily seeable? Like this model, you can very see where like, a 3 looks like a 5 maybe, or or 4 looks like a 7. Like a 4 is next to a 7 in this thing because, the way that a 4 is written is similar. It's a similar thing, and it should be represented in a similar place. Therefore, if you are having a similar representation for beliefs, you should have in that space similar representations or beliefs in that similar space in a way that you can reference it in the future and you can use it to make better decisions. And I saw this technology. I understood very intimately where it was going through the capitalist profit incentive. I understood we were just going to get a bunch of dumb apps and deep fakes and create more problems and horrible AI weaponry. And I'm like, oh my God, that's going to keep going until you break the profit incentive for invention in regards to, machine learning. It's just going to keep going. The worst things will be created. And like, I had a stream recently where I was just like, kind of almost cried, just being so frustrated with other machine learning engineers who are using their skills to do really bad things. And I think they all have reasons, and it's like, usually it's like, you want to feed your family or whatever. I don't think a lot of people think it's malicious. I think a lot of people convince themselves their actions are for the best, myself included, when I worked for a financial company. But ultimately I left because I felt so passionately about this vision of the future and that we all needed to work together towards a new future, and that it was not as simple as just a band-aid to the current system. And no smashy, okay? No, you can't just smash the old system. There's good stuff in there, and that's why I love the metaphor of the planting of the seeds of a new system. We water it. It starts small. It can be in small communities. It doesn't have to be in the way, and it slowly grows and gets richer and healthier and more beautiful and strong and creates more and more structure. It creates structure in the soil, and also this idea that I didn't want to be this person that was creating the one true version of this technology and only that one is right. I wanted us to scatter many seeds in the soil, many seeds that are, yes, of a similar type or a similar vision, but like that all have the opportunity to grow, and we see which ones are the strongest, and they all create structure for the soil and structure for things to live in and thrive. I mean, this is all metaphor, but this is how I feel about building and growing new systems within the current ones. So I've talked about this for quite a bit. I think I should play some music. And I appreciate you all bearing with me on that. And ultimately, my truest belief my conclusion from writing this manifesto was that attention had been so far quantized by the profit incentive, that the idea of advertising was so directly connected into our society, that the capacity to truly shape people's beliefs would always be bound to how much money one had, unless there was sort of an artistic movement in a direction where people felt intrinsically motivated to create art and create, you can call it just whatever you want, you can call it propaganda, you can call it advertisement for a new system, whatever that system may be. But I felt strongly like that was the actual tenable route, that if people speak their truths in this new way and seek to plant the seeds of a new society and seek to water that gradually, and you don't just keep waiting to see what's going to happen or just hope that the soil below you doesn't fall out. When it's clear it's getting drier, the soil is getting deader, and it's getting harder and harder to grow good plants in it. You know, it's like, we got corn, we can grow corn in our society, and in fact we subsidize corn. It's actually very literal. So both systems mate and make babies that are similar and different. Yes, this is why Turl is such a wonderful person to follow, and you should follow her on Twitter. And she's very smart, and she strongly believes in being honest and truthful about her beliefs, and that's really great. And sometimes she will be very strongly disagree with you, and usually I learn something new from that exchange, and if there's that disagreement. And you know, all these are good comments and questions. So I wanted to play another song because it's a little bit, you're great and you're awesome, and I'm so joyful to have connected with you. But yeah, you are controversial, and but so am I. So I love controversial people. They're exciting as long as you're not seeking out to hurt people. You're just trying to speak a truth that's different and challenge people on deep established convictions that have become unhealthy. Absolutely. Okay. I've done 2 songs in like forever minutes. Oh, I would love... Oh, okay. No, actually, I can connect what I'm doing to this. Hold on. Oh, okay. If you could give me a moment, I'm going to load the new single that I am working on into Logic, and I'm going to sing for you over the new single. I have figured out how to do that, and it's unmixed. It's just a raw guitar, raw bass, raw drums, and I'm gonna sing it live. But I wanted to talk to you about the why I made this video, what I'm trying to say, really. And Okay. Interesting. I was just informed by my partner that there was no audio. Yeah, sorry. It's all new things. I'm trying to basically do this. Which is advanced audio properties. You guys can hear it, but I can't. I really wanted to do this one. I wanted to do this. I was really excited about this because, but it's all streaming through here, and I don't have a way to actually. Oh no! I did it! Oh, sorry, I'm very excited. It's gonna be a little weird. Okay. Where's it? Can you see? I think yes. He said that's a kick-ass video. The audio is back. Okay, we're gonna try this. It is hard to get the clocks in different programs to agree with each other. But we're gonna give it a shot. I'm really excited. Okay. Because I have an echo in my ear, and that might confuse me. What? Oh. Ridiculous. There. Okay. On feet, another other. Just another tribe that makes you. It's very difficult with the echo in my ear. Wanna find our brains. Brain is coming from inside. I wanna feel the feeling, and the feeling's feeling right. Jetty other side, it's no way that you're right. I know because I know you'll never change your mind. I wanna be your brother, but I fear and I fear what you say. Where do I cover when the bombs come from space? Hey, you. Still working out the bugs. See you lie and miss another. Tell me that you're right and I don't feel the same. You walk away, look into your eyes. I say another mind, another guy. Maybe if we both just calm down and change. Hey, 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 I wanna take your mind and lay it over mine and see the things you see and see the wisdom in your eyes. I know we're not the same, baby, if we change and move a little closer, maybe we can find a way. Oh, I wanna come together, but I fear and I fear what you say. Is it out of sync still? I don't know. What do you run for cover when bombs come from the space in a brain? Hey you, what's your name? All you wanna do is sing the same refrain. Hey, I won't change. Nothing that you say is gonna shake my faith. Hey, what's your name? All you wanna do is sing the same refrain. Hey, I won't change. Nothing that you say is gonna shake my faith. I wanna be a brother, but I feel your hand, I fear what you say. Oh, do you run for cover when the bombs come from the space in a brain? Well, it is an experiment that I will have to refine, and that is okay, and I can just play without backing tracks. Hello, there we go. I know it is just coming out of one speaker. That was the only way I could figure out in the moment. I was like, okay, if I move the audio to my left ear, then I can just turn it off, and then I love it. I don't know if it was in sync. Sounds good, and yes, it's a good experience. It's very positive. I don't know how much in sync. Fox will tell me later. It is out of sync. Oh boy. Sync good for some in moments. Okay. Ain't that life? We just can't get in sync. We just can't get in sync with each other. You're all beautiful. Thank you for how's that? Yeah, I'm excited for this song. I wanted to do a single for a year, and I didn't think this just ended up being this one. I'm not sure if it was like the best hook, but I think it's just an important and powerful message, and it feels good to sing. I gotta say, when it works, I'm so excited for you all to hear this single, because it feels divine. I gotta tell you. I mean, and Fox, who's gonna mix it, is just, I mean, very criminally underrated, because he's, you know, basically, I mean, he's a genius in the context of audio, and he's also very smart in general, but just like he's gonna do great with it. And I'm just excited to bring it into the world, especially with the video, because the video, I think, is again getting even closer to what I'm trying to say. We're talking about opinions being represented in a similar space, and this is faces represented in that similar face, and you can really see the individual people sort of transforming from person to person. And you know how I was talking about the 4s and the 7s being put near each other. That there's a similar sort of thing that occurs with this model of the faces being trained, and that is that similar faces are placed in a similar location. So when you see one transforming from one to the other, basically what is happening is I have selected specific faces with certain emotional traits that match the moment in the song, and they're basically anchor points, and the technology moves through that space, like moving from a 4 to a 7, but moves through the space between faces. And I think the incredibly beautiful thing is that, you know, no matter where you pause it, it looks like a real person, even if it's between two faces where it's like completely, you know, unlikely to see that type of person existing in the world, just because maybe those two parts of the world are so far apart that not very many people, you know, end up having kids that are, you know, mixed Irish and Asian. But the model understands the nuances well enough to go from somebody with freckles and red hair to you know, somebody with Asian features. And I think, you know, people talk a lot about bias in these models, and it's true. It's learning what is in the data set, but no problem. It can imagine these in-between faces. It can imagine the lines between that we probably couldn't really see that well, and we usually don't. We struggle to see the in-between, and we struggle to aggregate our voices. And I think it's really important. The best thing that I can do is do these sort of experiments that are visual, because the only true feeling that you would have of interacting with a system like this is just literally like you have a very simple portal, maybe it's an app, and you have a community, and you have one of these models that only reads you and your friends' sort of thoughts about what's happening and going on, and you collaborate through it. And as you work through time, you see that model reflect back your voices brought into sort of one, and asks you basically to reflect back upon it. You know, so what it would say is like what it thinks your perception of the future is, or what is true, and then you would respond back with a score after that, between 0 and 100, how likely or how true you think that was, because it's trying to understand and learn our differences and how to represent all of our beliefs in a shared mutual space so that those beliefs can be refined and resolved. And because you can have a system where you can measure voices' different perceptions on that, it can really very directly calculate the dissonance in voices about what we believe, and, you know, how passionate those voices are, and whether those people want those things to be true or not. You know, it's really important to consider all of that when considering aggregating beliefs. And I know it sounds very complex, but the reality of it is just like you're sitting around, you're at the park, you see a bunch of trash on the ground. You think it would look better if it was cleaned, but you are busy, you have to get somewhere, and nobody's around to see it or know about it. You can put that into, you know, a system, just like you pull up your app, like, whatever. Very simple would be the ideal. You're expressing a belief that it should be clean, and that it would be a better experience for those in the physical space if that were to happen. You're putting to this chain a desire for change, an intent and a belief of a better potential future. This is a very small scale, but that's what you're doing. And somebody who is seeking, you know, much like somebody who would seek to earn profit through a company, somebody seeking to basically prove that they are helpful to their community, and therefore, you know, to have a larger voice in that community, to sort of contribute more to the things that are, you know, contributing to everybody. Like, that is an opportunity that has now been made to the chain and could be rewarded for somebody taking the action to solve that problem. And that would be the true state of it. And furthermore, you know, you're sort of interacting with the system where it's like, you know, it also has a bunch of other people who've walked through that park a million times before, and have also logged that similar sort of thing. Oh, there's trash here, there's trash here, there's trash here, there's trash here. Well, I would say that the person who picked up the trash should be, you know, rewarded less than somebody who saw all of those logs and basically said that, you know, I am noticing that there is trash in these specific locations because there's no trash can there. If we just move, and the paths are going this direction, there's like maybe a desire path going through the field. And there's trash there. That's because where people are, and so that one voice has a better perception of how to affect that future for all of those people. They bring in a trash can they place in that spot, and it solves that problem. That person should be rewarded more for than the person that that just picked it up. But it's this idea of quantifying social good in a way that creates long-term sustainable futures that are self-sufficient, and not just sort of the capitalist route. We throw money at a problem and we hope that'll fix it. This is really sort of monetizing the best possible futures. And because we're working with this machine learning system that is very fluid and very responsive to you, it can handle that. Whereas like something like Metaculus or these prediction networks, they really can't. Okay, I want to play you a song. And this song, I really think, honestly, is just me taking the shit out of myself. Just, I think it's good to be a little bit, bring yourself down a bit, but it's also for, aimed at other voices and their sort of hubris. And this song is called "The Greatest Man Alive," because part of it is, I've gotten a lot of flack for saying that we should change something. Like, it's 2016, I did have a dinner with a friend that was very sort of psychically damaging to me, which is why I was trying to explain why I thought we should change the system, what the problem was, and the value, the true value of changing the system, and what was going to happen because the institutions were failing us, and they weren't really working the way they were supposed to. And it was a very negative response. And the response was basically, this is hubris. The hubris to think that you could solve this. And I never viewed it as like, I need to fix everything. And I think for a long time I tried to push all the different voices. And in the manifesto, I do discuss various other people's ideas about how to do it. And I'm very open that I would like to see any system that takes into account a lot of things that we sought to communicate in the manifesto. Even if it's just like something like Futarchy, where we more directly integrate prediction networks, or even if it's something like an idea market, which is sort of a sort of interesting similar concept. I think we're evolving in that direction, and we're going to have a lot of people who are like techno savers, and they're going to be like, Bitcoin is going to save the world. And then you find out 10 years later how much energy it costs, and so you have to move to proof of stake, and proof of stake is something that people don't understand really, so they're really hyper-focused on like sort of the negative implementation of the technology that doesn't really work that well. So I think it's just, it's really good to have perspective and everything, and that includes, the absurdity of my belief is, and that I have any responsibility individually to do it. The reason why I believe that I have that responsibility is not because I was sitting around and thinking, I'd like to fix everything. No, it was just that I was exposed to knowledge that made the idea appear in my mind. I was focused on fraud and financial fraud. I was looking at short, like transactions that looked like tweets and looked like representations of truth. I was just exposed to all of this, and so I had these ideas, and I've been very heartened since the 4 years that other people have come up with very similar things on their own, because that means that it's an idea that will naturally evolve, and it's emergent. Things are both designed and emergent, but like, okay, if two people invent calculus, they kind of designed it, but it kind of emerged too from the knowledge that was available at the time. Design science. Okay. Still going. Okay. Do you have anything to say more than we got Here's what I want to be able to see. I want to be able to see this audio. I apologize. I will get better. I'm going to keep doing these often and just get better communicating with people of scale about this. Do you have anything to say? More than we gotta change. What are you gonna change it to, girl? Or is it just the same 4 lines? The world is in decline, and if the rich will just decide to give it all up, baby. You got a lot to say, but you will not ever say it if they do not give you the power. Yeah, my God, it's stuck in my head now, it's stuck in my head now, it's stuck in my head. My God, it's stuck in my head, it bears repeating. We got just 25 years to 25 years to 25 years to. We got just 25 years to save the whole planet. Gonna be the greatest, greatest man alive. Yeah, you'll be the greatest, greatest man alive. You could, but you can't make decisions. Do you have anything to say to a planet in decay? I know you don't. You say you do. So go and change everyone's mind by posting memes online. You'll save the world, you'll save the world, you'll save the world. Yeah, right. I wanna be the greatest, greatest man alive, but you can't make decisions. You got a lot to say, but you will not ever see it if they do not give you the power. Yeah, you wanna shout the same 4 lines like socialism's great, or yeah, captain's the best, okay. Yeah, my God, it's stuck in my head, it's stuck in my head, now it's stuck in your head. My God, it's stuck in my head, it bears repeating. We got just 25 years to 25 years to 25 years to. We got just 25 years to save the whole planet. I wanna be the greatest generation, I know it. You can make the people wanna die for it. You'll be the one to open up their eyes, but they won't even listen. Oh. Okay. The song is partially taking the shit out of myself. But also, I feel like what I'm trying to pursue with this is really to amplify the voices that should be amplified and to bring together as many disparate voices in a way that is constantly learning from people in real time and can update itself and better react to human needs and how, and not just human needs, but just like any being that can speak and communicate and is affected by the social landscape that it lives within. And so it's like, I want for the system to learn to amplify voices that take the actions that best benefit other people, like the trash can thing. I want to amplify the voice of the person who puts the trash can in that right place, because and still will, reward before that somebody who is just picking up that piece of trash, because I think that there are much bigger problems that we have to take collective action against, where the outcomes, if we don't do it right, can be very dangerous. Like, for example, if if you're trying to bring back fish into the ocean, there's this idea that you drop iron filings and then it promotes this algal bloom, and then the algal bloom causes little fish to come back, and little fish cause big fish to come back. And some crazy fucking Canadian millionaire literally did this without any permission. He just got a boat and he just did it, and I believe it worked. But the point being is, like, that's a very unpredictable action. That could have just totally fucked everything. And that guy just did it because he had money and power. That's the problem with this system, is that his voice is amplified, and he happened to be right, I guess, in that specific ecosystem for however long. Maybe something, unexpected happens in the future. Unknown. But I think it's really important to find the voices. And so when I look at I live in the Bay Area and I see all these tech solutions, or, people just saying, let's go, capitalism's already amazing, or socialism is the true pure thing. And so it's just trying to get a piece of clarity on the idea of radical systems transformation, and be aware that even though it's frustrating to hear that there is hubris, there is kind of hubris in it. And the challenge is bringing in the most possible voices and bringing those voices together in a way. It's not just about like many different voices. It's how those voices come together. And how the system changes, and how it evolves without the need of any individual to have to meter or regulate it individually. That it's something that's emergent from our collective desires and works at a small scale, which I truly believe it will work at a very small scale. Aside from the challenges with training one of these models, it will work, very easily at a large scale, because, you can distribute the training of the model across all of this and reward people directly in addition for contributing the energy that it would cost to run the system, because that's also an important part of making such a system occur. So yeah, this song, at first it didn't work for me, but then I rearranged it and I made the "My God, It's Stuck in My Head" thing the focus of the song, because it's like, when I bring your attention in that song, I want it to come back to that. I want something stuck in your head. Like, literally, I wanted to write a hook that would remain with you. You're sitting in your bed and it's like, shit, we've got 25 years to 20, like, and it emotionally affects you. I believe in art in that way. And these are my examples of what I talked about, an artistic movement that could transform social change, is that, traditionally songs are very limited in the type of language and that they use in it. And I think I've been referred to outsider art, but I think you can communicate very complex and interesting, novel things through art. Oh, there's so many beautiful voices right now. It was like a 16th off, though. That makes sense. That's actually fixable. Great performance. Center now. Is that easy? Oh, that's cute. Turtle fly. The video slam is gonna be great. We turtles are ubiquitous. The video was dope. I love how excited you are. Constantly you're singing. Thank you. I very much appreciate that. And thank you all for sticking with me. I'm just gonna go until I get my voice out, and people, can absorb this at their own pace. And if you need to go, if you need to do something, there's no pressure to stay around. If you're enjoying yourself, if you have it on the background, thank you. I'm just glad to have the ability and the freedom to be able to communicate these ideas, and in a way that I feel is growing more and more open and easier for people to connect with, and truthful. And so I'm just excited for all of you to be here, and I hope to do more things like this, and do things like Zooms where, there's more active conversation. And like I said, moving on to version 2 of the manifesto and how we change that language and move it forward. I think that's very, very exciting, because I want to create living documents that bind humans together in healthy ways. I'll say that again. I want to create living documents that bind together humans in healthy ways, or speakers, because the system is designed to incorporate anybody with a voice. That could even be a bot that we decide has some level of consciousness. That could be, gorilla that learns to communicate through sign language. I wanted to think into the future, 1,000 years. So I think we need to create new living documents that bind humans together in healthier ways. We've done this for years. Treaties, the Magna Carta, the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and it's these symbols that contain this meaning that we store into it through word that really bind us together. And I'm suggesting that we need a new document like that. I'm not saying it has to be exactly what I presented here, but that we should come together and do it. I think we can. And I think it should be better than last time. Last time it was just a bunch of land-owning males coming together and also slave owners, and they had to deal with and they had to compromise in a way that was very dark just to bind themselves with a 3/5 compromise. So because we have all of this incredible technology and resources and the potential to come together to write new documents that bring us together, and I'll say this again, in a healthy way, how our voices come together in a healthy way, because social media as it is not healthy. The way we quantify and push content to you is not healthy. The notifications that you get are not healthy. And the reason why all of that is true, and I want this to have as much weight as it can, is that the people who are creating the networks are directly motivated by profit because they have to be. The social networks are distributing your speech and also other speech to you on a function of profit. And that radically shapes how our attention is guided. And when your attention is shaped, your actions are shaped, your beliefs are shaped. So there is a very true feeling in my heart that we need to transform these systems, and it's a very true feeling in my heart that it's actually a lot simpler than we make it out to be, but that we keep moving in the wrong direction. Let's pull up a song. Living part, man. Documents, they gotta be living, and you gotta learn and adjust, and that's what the machine learning for me is, the ultimate representation, because it's living. It's literally changing, and at different degrees of how hard it is to change. We have similar concepts with law, where you have federal law and you have constitutional law and you have state law and you have county law and you have city law, where it's like these encodings of these local collective decision-making bodies are written to word, and they're written in this archaic form of archiving, and it's very abstract, and it's like, this clearly can be updated. I'm not saying replace it completely, but you can plant the new seeds of a new system on top of that, again, with that metaphor. I'm gonna do it, Turl. And Shayna, if you're here, I'm gonna do it. This one. Again, a song that is very much like just trying to be like, wake up, Prebblish, put a little makeup. You wanted to. No, just this song is called, it was originally called None of This Is Even Real, because I named things the first line of a song for some reason, but I think it might be called Purple Pill. It's talking about like how we have these blue pilled, red pilled, black pilled, gray pilled, blah 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 blah, and it's all these visions of truth, and then also like that, the left and the right are quantified as the blue and red, and then going into the Matrix and be like, dude, wait, what would happen if he ate both of them? Like, what? I mean, it didn't make sense in the first place, but so it's like, again, a song about integrating perspectives, and it's something that I'm exploring with the art, trying to be like, how do you write songs that are very a call to action about integrating people's perspectives and that are complicated and interesting. None of this is even. None of this is even real. All will go away. living in a plastic box instead of in reality. Don't you wanna be awake? Don't you wanna hear the earth? Don't you wanna feel the weight of that good work? So yeah. Number 1, neglect the planet. Number 2, get on the net. Number 3, forget the rest. I don't think that's gonna for me, because I like reality, and I don't think I'm alone in that fact. None of this is real. Can you hear the horsemen coming? Don't you wanna feel plugged up to plastic boxes? I just wanna see what we've done. Come and tether me. I'll walk this world with you so free, so free. I'll walk this world with you so free, so free, yeah. None of this is even real. All of it will go away. Living in a plastic box instead of in reality. Don't you wanna be awake? Don't you wanna hear the earth? Don't you wanna feel the weight of that good work? So yeah. Take the blue, live in comfort. Take the red, experience her. Take them both, tell you what they're gonna do. It's gonna be the best of both worlds. Take the purple pill, it's time to live in the future with me. None of this is real. Can you hear the horsemen coming? Does you wanna feel plugged up to plastic boxes? I just wanna see what we've done. Come and tether me. I'll walk this world with you so free, so free. Don't you wanna walk with me so free, so free, yeah. None of this is... I just forget the next part if it goes... I just gonna keep up with the video. None of this is even real. All of it will go away. Living in a plastic box instead of in reality. Don't you wanna be awake? Don't you wanna hear the earth? Don't you wanna feel the way of that good work? So yeah. If I found you, would you follow me out? Would you greet me with doubt or elation? Do you wanna be free? Are you ready to see? Are you ready to take the purple pill with me? None of this is real. Can we hear the horsemen coming? Do you wanna feel plugged up to plastic boxes? I just wanna see what we've done. Come and tether me. I'll walk this world with you so free, so free. Don't you wanna walk with me so free, so free, yeah. None of this is even real. All of it will go away. Living in a plastic box instead of in reality. Don't you wanna be awake? Don't you wanna heal the earth? Don't you wanna feel the weight of that good work? That felt good. Oh my God, Anya, you're here. That's so great. I was talking about you. I always hype you up in these. I mean, I've been hyping up a lot of people because they're awesome. Everybody here is awesome. I keep talking about the Design Science Decade, and it's like the studio is just this incredible thing done by my partner Roxana Shawadi in conjunction with the Buckminster Fuller Institute, and it's just like bringing together all of these voices that wouldn't necessarily normally have a platform, myself included, and just giving them an opportunity to have a voice. And you know, that's what the single really was, is that I felt the freedom to, because there was a special program within it that gave me a small amount of money to create something, you know, and all these other creators were giving the opportunity to create something. And I settled on this single because I felt it was very, very communicative, and I just want to talk about how amazing my partner Roxy is. And the program, and like the potential, and it has a framing thing for working together, and it framed in that it really is a prediction. It's about a decade, and what the goal is for that decade, and the change that wants to be seen in that decade. And it's a designed future where people are taking action and sort of working together through these principles that were established by Bucky. Yes, I have a song I really want to do that is stupid, but I'm gonna do it because I can't help myself. I did This Land, and I was like, oh, that's a fun song that has a meaning that I can explore with. And then I had this other song idea that I love singing just because it's a really good song. But it also has like sort of a similar potential, but I don't know, people thought it was kind of silly, but I like it. Look at this stuff. Isn't it neat? Isn't it neat? Wouldn't you think my collection's complete? Wouldn't you think we're the world who has everything? Look at this trove, oh, treasures untold. How many wonders can one planet hold? Looking around here, you think, sure they've got everything. We've got gadgets and gizmos aplenty. We've got who's its and what's its galore. You want thingamabobs? We've got 20 billion. But who cares? No big deal. We want more. I don't have the next part. I think it has potential because it's fucking Disney, and it's like the song literally about like capitalism and ownership, and they're just like selling fucking Disney plushes. And so it's like I change it to like reflect from the point of the world, and it's like I'm just sort of trying to flesh this one out, but I have like what I would give if I could live off of this planet. What I would pay to spend a day warm on Mars. I'm just exploring this idea of being like talking about like Elon Musk or something, just being like, it's not enough. It's not enough for me to be super rich. I also need to just get the hell out of Dodge. And Dodge is Earth. So I'm just playing with that one because it's fun for me. Oh, I wanted to do a song. Do you rely on a plan that is okay? I will do it, but it can't have the backing track because apparently it's out of sync. Or do I? No, it's not gonna work. Okay, I want you to see the lyrics to this, but you know, you gotta do all these things on the fly, and I just gotta add files, add these songs that normally would have had sound in it. With audio. Good. Okay. 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 This song has actually drums, and I really wanted you to hear them. But life doesn't always work out like how you want. Why do I just throw picks? Where do I do that? I'll never learn. Oh, I didn't. I put it in my pocket. Maybe I learned. Well, I've been round this road. Well, I've been round this road. Nobody knows how far it goes, but I feel like walking as far as these 2 feet will let me go. You rely on a plan to tell you all the things you can and can't do. Oh well, tell me if you can see the lights at the end of the road. They laugh as you watch it unfold. I rise onto the rising sun, wait upon the patient moon to try to just be the earth. I look to the north, see the world for what it's worth, and I feel like talking as far as this little voice will let me go. You lie on a man, tell you all the things you can and can't do. Oh well, tell me if you can see the light at the end of the road. They lie as you watch it unfold. I heard these hymns inside my mind, so strange it seems it could be mine, but I think the words is my own. Well, I look down this road, nobody knows if far it goes, but I feel like walking far as these 2 feet let me go. You lie on a plane, tell you all the things you can and can't do. Oh well, tell me if you can see the light at the end of the road. Feel alive as you watch it unfold. I heard these hymns inside my mind, so strange it seems it could be mine, but I think the words my own. I feel like Oh, the drum was not supposed to go through. I wasn't even... Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. This is what I'm talking about. Do you rely on a plan? They tell you all the things you can and cannot do. I had all these plans. You just gotta roll with... You gotta roll with the punches. Yeah, you know, that song was really written, I think, as a response to Strange Hymns, because I had a very big vision for that album that was like 21 songs, and it really almost broke me because it was too big and I was too stuck on the plan, and I couldn't really shift and like move and change. And it's like you got to be able to react. And it talks a lot about the things that I've been talking about even in this, like even in this last part where I say like, I heard these hymns inside my mind, strange it seems it could. That's what I'm talking about, where a lot of these songs that I'm writing are coming fully to me, and they feel almost like they're coming to me. And referencing again the rising sun, the patient moon, and the earth replies from strange hymns. But this song was written afterwards. Sync is well, it's okay. It's absolutely okay. What did I do with it? Okay. So there shouldn't be any sound from this now. We don't know why we were trying so hard. Save all the earthings from something they don't want to hear. You're stuck in your way and you're stuck on the line. Just wait for the perfect solution to come and decide. Sorry. You're gonna die if you do not compromise. We're trying to be nice, to find a way for you to integrate, but you insist on your lies. Hey, God won't save you, say hey, just try. Wait for the future, don't wait, it's the way, it's the way, it's the way. The future is not that hard to predict, but by the time it is here, you'll be holding your dick. Nothing will change that, not even, no. Nothing will change that, not even a line in a song. You're still alive for maybe 25 years, but then you're gonna die. You got a chance if you could see through your hands and see that there's other minds. Hey, God won't save you, say hey, just try. Wait for the future, don't wait, it's the way, it's the way, it's the way. It's always been hard to watch the planet die. Still gonna try to help you see eye to eye. We see the same thing. It happens over and over and over, over and over and over again. You got this, you got this, you got this way about you. The human race is so hard to fight. You got this, you got this, you got this. If you could just, you got to see that you are not the only people in existence. Woo! Is there some chance we'd rather sacrifice lambs than even fucking try? Just write it down and fucking go to town with all that effort you might. Hey, God don't see this, say hey, just try. Wait for the future, don't wait, it's the way, it's the way, it's the way. We are the aliens trying to reach you. Speak to your work through your stars when they get really high. Hey, Michael Tillman was just the beginning. There's probably at least 20 more till we just let you get. Not gonna lie, cause we speak mind to mind and say whatever we like. It's kinda weird, language makes them not here, just makes a neural divide. Hey, we're not gonna save you, say hey, just try. Wait for the future, don't wait, it's the way, it's the way, it's the way. Woo! Yeah, we're a little bit lost. I gotta play a few songs. I know I've been on it for a long time, but yeah, I'm just enjoying myself, and people can come through and just it's all pistachios, baby. That's a real expression. I want to sing the song that I wrote from the perspective of point of view of God, because I think it's a fun song. Spirit of society is on deck. Kind of, sort of. Well, you're gonna miss my face and have to see the lyric instead. And that's okay. That's okay. Just for this song, that's okay. Oh gosh. Young God, swimming in a light of pure indecision, standing on the top of the world and asking, should I end it all? I don't know if I taught them well enough. Did I show them the light as I look through their eyes? I am alive as I hear the thoughts of mine to control their lives and give them freedom to try it. The spirit of society can sit outside itself for one goddamn second and take a look in the mirror and some self-reflection. Why am I like this? Why do I do this? Why am I helpless? Why don't I feel alive? Feel alive. Feel alive, feel alive. Young Earth looked up the sky and saw its creator. Said, I'm tired of this lonely landscape and this nascent nature. I am lonely, send me children to play with. So they came on down, consumed its face. I am alive as I hear the thoughts of mine to control their lives and give them freedom to try. Why am I like this? Why do I do this? Why am I helpless? Why don't I feel alive? Feel alive, feel alive. Feel alive. God praise to the higher gods for their life. Help me save these children from their own mind. But hear the thoughts is mine to control their lives. Give them freedom to try. Why am I like this? Why do I do this? Why am I helpless? Why don't I feel alive? Feel alive. Feel alive. Feel alive. I gotta get better at saying things faster. This is why I write the songs. Because the songs are 3 minutes long and they explain everything and it's all refined. That's why I make the videos are 10 minutes. But then you set me loose on this stuff. I just talk for like 15 minutes between songs just trying to say some very simple stuff. You know, I mean, though, if I had to point all of your attention towards any of the metaphors that I sort of brought forward in this, I would hope that you would focus on the idea of seeds being planted in the substrate of existing society as it sort of falls apart, to give it structure and sort of take the nutrients and support like our substrate of society. I really want that metaphor. The idea of just quantifying social good is really, really important to understand. And the idea of, rewarding voices that take actions that actually produce long-term positive future fit change and not just short-term future change. And the idea that, in 10 years, on a daily, you might be constantly interacting with bots and the way that the bots function is not like how you expect them now, which is somebody trains them and they control them, but rather that you're constantly interacting with things that are trying to learn what you're trying to tell it. Learn what you're trying to say and learn its best representation in a way that it can help you, but is very limited to the world of just saying which voices are contributing the most based off of what everybody's saying over time and what we've been learning, as we've shared our voices to the system. Now I'm going to move this back here, and so that I really want people to understand those things. The idea of changing reward and why rewarding people with money is so powerful and so transformative. Why it's so hard to transform the system without considering that notion, and the enshrinement of advertising and propaganda and media and memes to convince people of things being so entangled with money, and money also being entangled with how social media networks sort of distribute our voices. It's our voices that they're distributing, and we don't have any say in it, how it works. And what we see in terms of their actual reward systems is pretty bad. It's the emergent behavior from YouTube, for example, the type of people who end up getting a lot of attention, the type of pranks that they do and stuff like that. I don't, and a lot of Instagram influencers, I don't think what emerges from their scoring systems is healthy. And so what I'm saying is, look at all these scoring systems. They are kind of, none of them are directly correlated with what we want them to be, which is just a perception of what the world and how good it is. And you have all these different sides with just such abstracted things it's a heart. What does a heart mean? I want to standardize this and give a way for people to share their voice in a way that they know will fundamentally have impact. They can still share through these social networks if they want to without it being logged to a chain. But if they feel like their voice truly matters and they want it to last and they want it to have impact on the future, you want to say something and you want to say, this is going to happen in the future, but nobody believes me right now. I just want people to have the ability to put that voice into the world, and then when things come to pass, that we much quicker reorient who we're listening to, who we're rewarding, and what rewarding and why. These reward systems are really, really important. It's the bulk of my work, from reinforcement learning and machine learning to my studies in psychology and communication. And it just rewards shape our behavior, and that's not necessarily bad, but we can make it very, very good. But if you just rely on a for-profit corporation to distribute your voice, your speech, your truth, if you rely on that, the truth is not really going to bubble to the top, the sensational things that get attention, because deep within that signal of optimization for what they're sharing with you is that people need to see more ads. And if people need to see more ads, it needs to be linked to content that is sensational and gets your attention. Because when you have like anger or you're frustrated online, they found that you're more likely to click on an ad. And so it's like they know they're sharing more content to sort of negatively that negatively impacts you. They're not stupid. And so I say, let's redesign this. If it shapes every aspect of our culture all the time, find a protocol, a standardization that makes sense to the most of people, and remove the amplification, the concept of amplification of voices. Remove that from a private or public institution and create a new institution that its very purpose is to help us amplify voices. It's why, the first album, Strange Hymns, it's like a wave, a concentric wave that would be sort of emitted from a speaker cone, part of why I'm called Speaker John Ash. The idea that it's like I want to amplify voices, speakers, much like you would, like a speaker cone would, and to amplify the voices that are actually correlated with good, positive social change. I don't think we see that this way, and I don't think it's actually as challenging as people assign. I think that the standard protocol that I've defined in the Cognicist Manifesto is very simple, and you can build a lot of things on top of it. You can almost every site that I've seen that proposes a solution or different types of social media, they can implement the protocol. And that's what I think is important, having a shared protocol that changes how we view the internet as this thing that's just like this thing for memes to something that really unites us and forms the new structure of how we interact with each other. But it's a gradual process of growth. Y'all know what I'm gonna do. Yes, that's fucking great. I love that. Yes, we need to hear more diverse voices, and I think that's really what I want to bring. I think you guys have heard of the overtone window, which is like that sort of political speech falls on a spectrum of extremeness, and this idea that it's really every belief is polarized into sort of a binary belief system, like this is like socialism is good versus socialism is bad, and that there is a sort of a socially accepted center of that curve that is able to talk about, and how the sort of window sort of shifts over time. It's incredibly important, and I think that those fringe voices, sometimes in the future, that overtone window, the center of the bell curve, it moves towards what was the fringe before. And I think that that's a really actually interesting and powerful signal. Just the voices that are ahead of the curve, can we amplify them sooner? I don't think we do. I think what happens is the people who warned about things happening are ignored, and then when the bad thing happens, they listen to the same people who didn't warn about it. Look at pundits, they just say the wrong thing over and over and over again, or like politicians, they just say lies over and over and again. They don't really manifest what they believe. They just know that if they promise enough, they convince you to. But I want it to be more like a politician or somebody who's trying to do social good. It's like they're literally quantified, and you take the money out of it entirely and put it in a new system, because money is so entangled with politics, it's completely broken. So you take that out of it and you quantify the social good directly and the long-term positives for social change. Okay, let me just do one or two songs left, and then we'll wrap up the stream. fuck should I do? What the 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 fuck should I do? Everyone's eating the meaning of God, chasing the freedom to be what you want. Turn to the music and now you abuse it, cause everyone's trying to be on the top. And speaking the meaning of God, praise the people on top. You're weaker the more that you talk, so I know. What did you say? You think something will change? I love everyone thinking they're gonna break out of this social decay. Praise the people of high, pay their way out of crime, but you're stuck at the bottom. You better get ready to pay with your time. What the fuck should I do? 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 Fuck should I do? What the fuck should I do? What the fuck should I do? What the fuck should I do? And everyone's trying to be a big man. Cheating and stealing is part of your plan. Cause everyone does it. You can't rise above you, playing the game, so none of you even exist. Back on my fist, taking a personal risk, selling your soul for a chit, taking a piss, looking into the abyss. Copy the people on top, breaking the law. But if you ever get stopped, lawyers won't do what you want, cause you ain't got money and power of God. You seeking the meaning of God? You praise the people on top. You're weaker the more that you talk, so I know what you say. You think something will change. I love everyone thinking they're gonna break out of this social decay. Praise the people of high, pay their way out of crime, but you're stuck at the bottom. You better get ready to pay with your time. What the fuck should I do? 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 Fuck should I do? What the fuck should I do? What the fuck should I? Fuck should I? Ooh. There's one, and I think that might be every song that I wanted to get out in this, except for one song, and that song is a song which maybe you might sing along at home. I mean, because it has truth in it, and it's a beautiful truth, and I think it's just a wonderful song. Sorry. Sounds out of tune, but come with me and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. Take a look and you'll see into your imagination. We'll begin with a spin, traveling in a world of my creation. What we'll see will defy explanation. If you want to view paradise, simply look around and view it. Anything you want to do it. Want to change the world, there's nothing to it. There is no life I know to compare with pure imagination. Living there, you'll be free if you truly wish to be. It's such a lovely song. And I'd like to end on, I don't know what I call it. It's the trilogy of songs. They're all very short. The Rising Sun, the Patient Moon, and the Earth Replies. And it is really the heart and core of Strange Hymns and what I was trying to say in perspectives in that album. And Add files. Again, well, you know what? Here's what I'm going to do. How does that work? That works. Ish. So we go back. We say. Did this wrong. I was supposed to do another song first. Okay. So this is The Rising Sun. It's the first song on Strange Hymns. And it's about when you think your perspective is the truest perspective, that you disregard all other voices and you steamroll ahead without considering the effects of your actions. Rising sun, where I'm from, where I'm going to this morning. Where I've been, come from the east onto the west. The rising sun. Hey God, can I please move the moon? 'Cause it's getting in my way, and I don't have any room like to fill up all the sky so that the earth could burst to bloom in the morning. As the rising sun. And the ground circles round, but here there sure seems to be. Would I go to the north, to the south, till my fires burn away, just a fading star. So hey God, can I please move the moon? 'Cause it's getting in my way, and I don't have any room like to fill up all the sky so that the earth could burst to bloom in the morning. That's the rising sun. So that song, but the sun wanting to get the moon out of the picture. She just wants to shine all day. And it's talking to God. It's invoking God's name and saying, God, this is true. This is right. And therefore I am right. The outcomes of my actions can only possibly be good. But of course we understand that if the sun shone all day, we would burn to a crisp it's the heating and the cooling, the cycle. It's the yin and the yang. It's the balance, and that's what Strange Hymns was all about. It was an album about balance and perspectives. And so every song on the album had a sister song, which was a song that was related either thematically or, I mean, often very thematically, but also musically in some places. And so the song the next song is fire. Okay, the song's called "The Patient Moon," and it's the moon responding to the sun's song. It's writing its own song in response. It's kind of like sun wrote a diss track, and it's writing its own diss track. Sun and moon. And hey, look at this. Sun and the moon back here. Sun and the moon. I'm referencing the rising sun in all of these songs where I talk about, your perspective and viewing it as the most valid one. And it's really like the key is that we have to integrate our voices together through a system. And that's what we already do through a lot of systems. But those systems can be designed better now that we have the internet and now we have new tools to be able to aggregate our voices. I'm saying it sounds silly, but it's very connected. I don't need fire. The sun is a liar. Gonna shine as bright as the stars by my side. Well, if I'm just a reflection, look how the rest and gonna shine as bright as they need me tonight. Because I've been thinking things about the things you're saying to me. And I think that God and I would both agree that I'm a light, you're a light, lead us both into life. So take a bow, take a rest, lead the frame, chase the western wave. We all need direction. There's also perspective, and the center is nowhere between you or I. And we're both moving forward as our words make them warmer, and we'll find a way to just sleep through the night. So just wait. Just wait. When time comes around, darling, just wait. That song's about patience and really trying to consider everybody's opinion and really just being like the exact opposite of that perspective of my vision is perfect, and the idea of just considering everything. And and again, it's just about balance. So in the center of the song we have another two pair of songs, which is called The Earth Reprise and The Earth Replies. Now The Earth Replies is what I'm about to play, and it's a song of the earth personified responding to the sun and the moon, saying, yo, back off, I got my shit. And the Earth Reprise was an envisioning of what it would be if we really didn't come together, and that was sort of like a deconstruction of the planet that I thought it would live on. The landscape would live on, but the humans wouldn't. And so I actually have a music video out for the Earth Reprise, which was a song that was created by Fox, the producer, and I created this machine learning video using the same technology as another. And it was just exploring this idea of like failure, which was that, humanity may go, but the earth is probably going to live on beyond us. It's just whether we can integrate with it well enough, integrate with the earth and make the earth be more like home. and not just a place to live. I don't need your pride, and I don't need your fear, and I'll find it all out as I swim through the sphere of myself and another's. We will find together, we will find another somewhere throughout time. So don't discount my growth, I've been on my own, and I'll fight off your fight with a breath of ozone. From the heart of my core flows our magnetic folds. They will cast off your words and will make us a home. So they've raised us so well, we can walk on our own. We can do all the things that we need to make home now. With all of our people and all of our pride, we'll find one another, we'll seek out the light. So don't discount our growth, we can walk on our own, and the world's not alone when the earth is your home. So the light hits your eyes, just breathe with me. So that song is just sort of wrapping, that sort of idea up. And I think the fun thing about it is quantifying the sort of the magnetic waves that are being cast off by each system as the language via which they're communicating. Basically, like solar flares and like the electromagnetic radiation is the way the sun and the moon are communicating. Literally, just that the sun is casting off its words through these like whatever, and the way that this moon shines is through reflecting back on it. And and so the idea, I'll fight off your fight with a breath of ozone, because ozone, and also the magnetic poles, and the line like what is it? Fight off your fight with the breath of... From the heart of my core comes magnetic folds that will cast off your words and will make us a home. Yeah. So it's the idea that this ozone and the ozone and the magnetic field of the planet, personified, are like this protection to this caustic and sort of, it's radiation, but argument that the sun and the moon are having over what they both view as their rightful sort of child. It's the idea of personifying. First half of the album is masculine, second half is feminine, and sort of the balance between perspectives and all that good stuff. And with that, I will play further songs if people ask, or say anything if you have anything to say to me. Like, for example, would you prefer more speaking? Would you prefer more screenshot things? I'm certainly going to the next one refine and figure out how to do to the backing tracks better. I think I can solve that. I thought I had, but I'll test more in detail. I really appreciate all of you coming and listening to my thoughts. I enjoyed going back through the ideas that were presented in the manifesto and how they connect to a lot of these songs, and sort of like what I think that we can do together if we work together, and how we can use the technology that is probably going to be used against us in a very negative way, the way that China uses the social credit score to basically say, if your citizen does something that the people in power don't want, then they get a penalty. And I'm trying to say, flip that on the head, is that the people that you're scoring are the people who are aspiring to power. And they should be scored according to how much they create positive futures for the people that they want to lead. I think that there's a lot of potential, and I think more and more I'm viewing this as a more possible future, but we still need to work together and come together and speak together and be honest about how we organize and think about how we reward ourselves and how we reward others, and why it can have such negative effects on people to quantify all value as a token that can basically buy any action, service, or good. And it's utility, but show the Earth reprise to close. That's a good idea if I can figure that out. I will share the Earth replies to reprise. I think I can do it. Window capture 3. And it's going to be this. Okay. And then this is going to be maybe like that. And something like this. Something like this. It'll do. No, it'll do. It'll do. And then webcam. No, we want this one. It is hard to do this, I'll tell you what. I just don't know. Earth reprise. I just don't know if I can make it work right now. Cause oh crap. And that's the end, because I'll share a link in the chat. And I would encourage you to check it out, because it's the idea, and you can just go to my thing. It looks like this, and what I'll say is it's just like, we can work together. I know we can. I absolutely know we can. But what I do know is that my computer just ran out of space, and so that means that is the end of the stream. And I love it all, and appreciate you all for stopping by. Thank you.